Welcome to the Etna Township Board of Trustees special meeting Tuesday, March 29, 2022 at 6 p.m. I call the meeting to order. Mr. Johnson, the invocation, please.
Bow your heads with me. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the citizens at Etna Township. Thank you for giving us a great place to live here, that we are safe and protected. Pray for those who protect us from foreign intrusion also, and be with those families as they miss their loved ones as they're away. Amen.
Amen. Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Evans.
Here.
Ms. McKee.
Here.
All right, I will move to adopt the agenda as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Jay, roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Evans.
Yes.
Ms. McKee.
Yes.
All right, public comments. They are limited to 5 minutes for special meetings. I was told that they should apply to the agenda items only. If you'd like to speak, please come up and state your name and address.
Teresa Ogershot, 484 Trail West. I want to adjust the administrative position. It is a position that is on the books, has been on the books, has been empty since the person left in 2017. I don't know why it wasn't filled beforehand. It's, we don't need to worry about, do we need to make it part-time? Do we need to do anything else? Any new position should have a probationary period. I would, please fill the position. I'm tired about hearing about arguing about it, going wishy-washy one way or the other. We need to kind of all work together, and reminder elections are coming up for a position next year.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else?
Good evening. Stephen Paul, 76 Nantucket Avenue, Etna, Ohio. Okay, I'm looking at the comments, and I'm specifically addressing this to Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson is the only sitting trustee in regard to had access or information to the appointment, per se, of Mr. John Carlisle and Walter Rogers. You're the only one sitting trustee that has had inside information. The other two trustees, Ms. McKee, Mr. Evans, have no idea what the inner workings were for that. Now, Mr. Carlisle sat and acted for years as not only the head of the trustees, but he also served on and kept voting himself in, okay, with these two, the TIRC. He also got voted in with the TIRC in Reynoldsburg. You were here. How did you vote for Mr. Carlisle? He was head of it. It's like a cabal. Tonight and this evening, we have to, Ms. McKee, Mr. Evans, have to vote on whether to rescind his and Mr. Walter's responsibility on these committees. How is it that these individuals sat in a position of power and kept electing themselves to these committees? It's a cabal. Power has to be distributed. And we, right here, are the power. You are our servants. And if you don't like that, I don't know. I sat here in August of 2020. I sent a letter to you. I presented to all three trustees. That would have been Mr. Carlisle, you, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Ford. on the relationship of Mr. Carlisle and Mr. Hague. The subject of the relationship was involving the expenditures of over $13,500 of taxpayers' money for an extension of road. Was that a personal favor at taxpayers' expense? I asked right straight up. Everybody here, well, minus Mr. Carlisle and Mr. Ford, what's the relationship? Why is it that this road extension was supposed to have been completed at taxpayers' money, accepted by the county commissioners in 1978? It was plotted in 74, accepted in 78. Then all of a sudden, when Mr. Hague wants to have it completed, the taxpayers were paying, or the taxpayers of the state were paying for that small extension. It's called mileage. You know what it is. They were paying for it for 40 years. When I went down to the engineer's office and questioned whether or not this township, and you were sitting here as one of the trustees, was collecting money, and I asked John, are you collecting money illegally for these phantom roads? And Mr. Carlisle said, I don't know. Tell me what a phantom road is. And you sat there dutifully and listened. And he said, oh yeah, I know. The engineer's already called me. I went to see the engineer. I left there at 2 o'clock. I made it to a 6 o'clock meeting. The engineer's office has already called John. I want to know. You're on the inside. You understand what's been going on. It's really real interesting to find out what really has been going on in this township. Mr. Evans has asked, we need repeatedly an administrator for the township. I see both Miss McKee and yourself trying to block that, obfuscating it. Well, you know, we can do this, we can do that. You know what? Get off your butts. Do what you need to do. We've elected you here. All right? At least bring it up for a vote. Deal with it. Go up or down. But don't sit there and keep throwing it around the corner. Not right. And we were watching. And I want to tell you something, Mr. Johnson. I used to believe in you. Actually, when you first ran, I voted for you. And I voted you for a reason. Okay, time out.
No, I understand 5 minutes for that, but
Fine.
I appreciate the comments. And just for the record, I was also against that road extension. Looking at it for another one that was requested too, but I'm still looking into that.
What's your name again? I'm sorry. I didn't collect your name.
Excuse me. My name is Stephen R. Paul.
Okay.
I live at 76 Nantucket Avenue.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other speakers? Going once, going twice. All right, public comments are closed. Now I move to go into executive session under ORC 121.22 G1 to consider the appointment, dismissal, and employment of, it would be the employment of administrator position and dismissal or removal and appointment for the TIRC, the Tax Incentive Review Councils for Licking County and City of Reynoldsburg. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Johnson seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
And we are in executive session at 6:09 p.m.
Are you ready, Mark?
Yeah. All right, I move to come out of executive session. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. McKee.
Yes.
Time out of executive session is 6:43, and there was nobody in the room except the 3 trustees. Right now, I'll move for resolution number 220329-01, removing Licking County Tax Incentive Review Council representatives. Those 2 current representatives are Mr. Carlisle and Mr. Rogers. Is there a second? Last time, is there a second to remove Mr. John Carlisle and Mr. Walter Rogers from the Licking County Tax Incentive Review Council? All right, that motion dies.
So noted.
Isn't there something about a recall election bill was alluded to?
Well, I'm not sure if we can go on with the second motion of appointing. I guess I would move for resolution number 220329-02, appointing Licking County Tax Incentive Review Council representatives. I would ask for modification to remove the text regarding the removal, whereas about the removal of Mr. Carlisle and Mr. Rogers, and the prior motion, and removing the appointees, Mr. Burkholder and Ms. Varian as appointees, and changing the alternates to Mr. Burkholder and Julie, you said you could not make that meeting tomorrow?
I cannot.
To myself, Mark Evans, temporarily on that motion. Is there a second to appoint alternates? All right. I will move to resolution number 22032903, removing City of Reynoldsburg Tax Incentive Review Council representatives. This is to remove Mr. Carlisle and Mr. Rogers from those appointments on the Reynoldsburg Tax Incentive Review Council, as I think is needed for their improper conduct prior. Is there a second? And the second only means discussion. I move resolution 22032904, appointing City of Reynoldsburg Tax Incentive Review Council representatives, with the modification removing the language that stated Carlisle and Rogers were removed, and changing Mr. Burkholder and Ms. Varian, Julie Varian, and Ms. Gary Burkholder to alternates. Is there a second? Wow. All right, now, see if we can get this one passed. I move for resolution number 220329-05, Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act 116, Public Law 136, the CARES Act. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Julie, do you want to go us in a little bit about this, or do you want me to? I can.
You
This,
can.
this is required because the prior board had improperly authorized some CARES Act funding. They were supposed to do it in a resolution. As you know, we have a new fiscal officer, and she's trying to clean up the books and comply with all this stuff. So to be compliant, since the majority of this money, $25,071.59, which I believe the majority was for bonuses for employees during this time of 2020, we'll have to revert to general funds, and the other expenses, which will be the sheriff's contract, and that amount will be allocated to this CARES fund, so we don't have to pay this back. So again, this is to kind of fix the prior improper action of the last board and make sure accounting and that we don't have to refund this money. Is there any other discussion or question?
There were some bonuses, a lot of it was overtime also.
It's just the lump sum amount for that. But again, this is to fix how it was improperly passed. It should have been in resolution. There, again, trying to do the proper, make sure we're doing what's right. And
Well, we had a lot of meetings that were zoning related and so forth, and we had a lot of extra overtime. There were late meetings, there were big meetings. We had to have them over in the garage, which created a lot of other issues. So we used this money as soon as we could, and we got it. And some of the accounting wasn't properly in place on the UAN thing, and so it was done on a ledger type thing. And it never got put back in UAN, so we couldn't report it correctly.
I believe that's incorrect, because this was passed as a motion. It had to be a resolution. The calculations weren't provided. As I understood, the initial calculations, the initial formula gave one employee more than Mr. Carlisle thought she deserved. So there was recalculations, and there was no accounting for those calculations. So it wasn't, the books were a mess. And again, this is just so we don't have to pay this back.
Right, that's what it's for. Basically, it's going to pay it back.
Correct. So to properly account for it. So I appreciate Julie doing her hard work and getting this, because this is something they need to kind of close this out. And so if there's not any other discussion, I'd call the question and vote. Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Passed. And please stay around, make sure we sign this, because Julie needs to get this to, who is it, Jean over there?
We have the right one.
We have the right one.
You there? You got the right one? I wonder if I got the right one this time.
Yeah. Well, you got the right one last time.
Oh, maybe I had the right one.
So we'll make sure we do that, and then, I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
adjourned at 6:51. And I am so disappointed in this board. Keeping a corrupt individual on a board.
Mark, I have a question.
Yeah. Pathetic. This is pathetic.
At least the Newark Advocate is playing it right.
I'm really disappointed in you, Mr. Johnson, and you, Ms. McKee.
You know what?
Totally disappointed.
Oh, that's fine. You got the right.
That's my opinion.
That's right.
I don't think you're doing your due diligence.
That's fine.
That's fine, that's my opinion.
Yes, that's fine.
Step up and make your opinion known.
Oh, that's Jed. The same attorney was representing the township